Hello, everyone, and welcome to an Author a Day Live, an effort to support writers in need through book sales, author portrait print sales, and donations to the Authors League Fund. Each morning, a new author portrait is published at beowulfsheehan.com/an author a day and at instagram.com/beowulfsheehan with links to purchase that author's books. 100% of proceeds support the Authors League Fund, which since 1917 has helped professional writers in dire need. There will come a time when we will need to reflect upon, heal, and progress from the challenge of our time. Writers will meet that need then, and thanks for coming to their aid now. Our guest today at an Author a Day Live is Yeonmi Park, author of the memoir In Order to Live, a North Korean girl's journey to freedom. She has traveled the world sharing her story, and thanks to her gripping, uplifting book, her inspiration can be at your fingertips. Today, Yeonmi Park herself is with all of us. Welcome, Yeonmi.
Hi, everybody.
It's really, really lovely to see you. It's been some time.
Yeah, it has been.
But seeing you, of course, today takes me right back to the memory of that day that we shared together and the time we chatted before we worked together. And how amazing that toward the end of your book, you mentioned what happened right after we finished our photo shoot.
Yeah, I'm meeting my friend on
Yes.
the way. I remember, yeah, my friend Youngja.
Yes.
You remember I was walking to the subway station from your place
Yes.
after our shot, and I saw this message on my Facebook.
Yes. But you had actually, we had made a picture outside, and it was very cold. You took your coat off for a picture too, and then we came back into the studio. And then you checked your social media and you had a message. And of course, the rest of us didn't know what was going on because you were screaming and screaming and screaming. And we immediately thought, oh, are you okay? Is everything all right? And we knew, of course, that was the joy of hearing from your friend for the first time since your childhood.
Yeah.
What a great memory to return to.
It is. Wow. Now I can really,
Yes, yes.
That was such a wonderful day.
Yes, it was. And what a journey you've had since then. You're now a mother yourself. You have your own family. Able to further travel the world. I remember that you and I had a meeting before our photo shoot.
Right.
In which we then had a chance to get comfortable with each other, but we also had a chance then to talk about what's going to happen with your book. And you expressed concern about your becoming then that much more public of a figure.
Right.
And perhaps that then could prompt slander against you, maybe even attempts on your life. And it gave me the chance then to reflect on why people write and why you had a responsibility to do what you did, which was to tell your story. Because there'll always be people who don't want people to raise their voices. There'll always be cowards. There'll always be ugly people with that type of sentiment. But you, of course, have had this journey. And had it, and you saw that in yourself. You say as much in your memoir, this responsibility then to share it so that you can lift people who are afraid to speak up too and need that courage from someone who had found that courage and acted on it, of course, which is what you had and what you took upon yourself to do. And all the world, of course, is much better for your having done so. But to see then this reward of your stage in life for having taken that step, it's just such a beautiful thing.
Oh, I was very lucky that I also even had the opportunity to share my story.
Yes.
I was very fortunate in that regard.
Yes. So if you don't mind, can you tell us a bit about how your life has changed since your book was published?
Yeah, I think since my book was published, I do remember I think it was a similar time after my speech in One Young World in 2014.
Yes.
The speech that became really viral.
Yes.
And also during the time when I was working on my book, or the thing is, I don't remember exact dates, but around that time, it was a time when I was fearful of my own security because I was getting a lot of warnings from the intelligence.
Yes.
But I didn't quite understand that I just thought it was more my life was on danger. Then I didn't quite understand the method the regime uses to silence people, which is punishing 3 generations of the family who speak out, who stand up. And that happened to me during the time I think my book came out or right before. It was I one day I woke up seeing on the YouTube where all my relatives and actually including my neighbors being in this propaganda video denouncing me as the enemy of the people. And after that, my relatives are gone. So I have still no clue they've been executed or they've been sent to prison camp. So I actually didn't quite understand, like, I live in North Korea when I was like until 13 and in China for 2 years. I wasn't even sharing like nuclear missile secret or anything that's sensitive to the country. Everything that I talk about is all documented and everyone knows at the UN. So I didn't see that North Korea would go that far to silence me. But at the end of the day, they chose to kill my families or punish them instead of me. And somehow I'm still alive. So that was something I didn't quite, predict or calculate on my hand.
Yes, and you have no way of knowing, of course, what's become of them since that footage.
No, yeah, since that video, I have no clue. And I do have underground sources inside North Korea that I work with, and they still cannot find them. So even those people that I have, they have no clue. It's like nobody knows what happened to them.
Well, I'm so sorry to hear that.
Yeah, it's
But and beyond North Korea, of course,
yeah,
the chance to further tell your story. I
right.
have above me, of course,
Uh,
have not only this copy of your work, but I have this copy of your work now in multiple languages from around the world. It's so uplifting to learn that your story has been shared within that many more people.
Yeah,
Across cultures, across languages.
right. So it was just like so incredible because when I was in North Korea, right, I did not know how many languages were there in the world. I never knew what Africa was. I did not know what continent it was. I did not know also how many religion or the race that we had. So, my book was published for I think maybe up to 30 languages. And like I had to ask Mars, like, what is this language, right? Like we had that many languages in the world, and but seeing those people who are different race, who had different history, who speaks different language, can connect with my story.
Yes.
I think that really reminds me of like humanity is one, that we are connected. So it was really like healing experience to see just connect with everyone in this globe.
Yes. And have you had a chance then to, as the book has been published in other countries, then to travel to those countries and speak as well?
Not all of them, unfortunately, but I did go a lot of those countries that I'd never been and met so many different people and learned so much. And
For the countries to which you did travel, was there a place that somehow spoke to perhaps harmony with a country of your own upbringing? I mean, obviously, North Korea is where you had your start, but then you had such dynamic changes, having made it from China to Mongolia and to South Korea.
yeah, so the thing is with my security, I had to go to countries where more so I couldn't go to countries like, for instance, Syria. Syrian government is very pro North Korea, and also as you saw, like in Malaysia, Kim Jong Un's half brother got assassinated. So I had to. I mean, I love Malaysia. I really want to visit there, but according to we are like I get advice from security, a lot of countries that I couldn't go at the time because there was just so much North Korean agent who was operating, and the countries who had like diplomatic relationship in North Korea too.
Yeah.
I'm even like in New York, there's like North Korea's consulate in Midtown. So I'm not saying the US is better than any other country, but like they had to know if this country had a history of, kidnapping North Korean defector. And then those countries I cannot go.
I understand.
So yeah, even though so many countries that I really actually wanted to go, I couldn't go, but I'm waiting for the time to be okay so I can go.
Yes.
Yeah.
I remember reading in your memoir that you had spoken, I believe, in front of North Korea's consulate in London. Is that right?
And we visited, yeah, the UK, one of their like news program. I think I don't know exactly, but they maybe news today. I don't know. They told me they had a North Korean council in London, and asked me like, "Do you wanna go see?" So I was like, I'm a very curious person, so maybe I will be able to front my my enemy again. But as we got near, I was like shaking. I couldn't like bear even stand one. Like I was so afraid they would like, just come out and put me inside the consulate and
Yes.
just kidnap me again. So yeah, I wasn't actually ready. But I also spoke at the UN while the PPRK representative were like right next to me and swearing at me. So that was another like insane experience. But yeah, I mean they are everywhere. North Korean operations are even in China, in the US, UK, Sweden. I mean, they are like spread around the world.
Yes. I just think of how much bravery that must have taken for you to just be in front of that building and to continue history through its material representation.
Yeah, it was I was really even shocked at how I was still so terrorized by the regime. Even I was in this like democratic where the country that respects human rights, I was still terrified, but thinking like, how would I feel like if I was in North Korea right now?
Yes. I remember
Yeah.
having a conversation with your literary agent, someone we
Mm,
both love, who had told me that after your book was published in the UK, that there was a journalist who was working for the North Korean government who had written
mm,
poorly about your work to discourage people from reading it.
yeah.
And my hope was then that might be the worst thing that happens.
Yeah, I mean, I guess so. What North Korea does, like they have, one of their source of revenue is from hacking. They hack like they sometimes steal bitcoins. They hack a lot of banks, and they hack like South Korea every like major holiday to just show them their capability.
Yeah.
So the new threat from North Korea at this point is not only nukes. Their cybersecurity, the hacking from them is one of the rising threats from DPRK. So they do have a lot. I mean, you remember when the Sony released the movie of the
Yes.
making fun of Kim Jong Un, they got hacked. So that was like a real threat that Penguin and a lot of other people who were next to me got fearful of. Is like not being them killed, but it's like hacked the Sony. Obviously, they can hack anyone they want.
It's
So
interesting this time later to learn that that was actually true because I and a few of my friends took the position that this was the smartest form of publicity,
yeah,
of course, that
right,
filmmakers could have made because it became instantaneous news.
right,
What a great way to get attention for the film. But that
right.
real, that's really startling.
Yeah, but still, I think it is also like shows us no one is out of North Korean's threat because they can hack anyone's account.
Yeah.
So one of the things they did to me is that try to assassinate my character
Yes.
using all these like anonymous hackers, creating like anonymous like accounts and
Yes.
like blogs and spreading all these rumors. It was really hard in the beginning, like combating with this like unseen enemy, but eventually they couldn't win, so they got over it. Yeah, they got over it for
Eventually,
at least.
they don't. And,
Yeah, eventually they were like they were done.
yes. And
Mm.
all this time that you did travel after the book was published, did you have physical protection as well? Did you have security people with you?
A lot of times at the venues they did have to be armed, and because the interesting enough there are a lot of people who like socialism and communism, who are very idealistic to this like extreme like communism and socialist
Yeah.
regime. And North Korea is the last country officially still like socialist country, right? It's called like socialist paradise. So the people who are like anti-capitalism, anti-free market, anti-West is the fan of North Korea,
I see.
and who also anti-America because North Korea is the enemy of America. They are like support from North Korea.
I see.
So it wasn't like me only dealing with like a North Korean agent, but I had to deal with a lot of sympathizers of this ideology called like socialism
Yes.
and extreme left. So it was just like we did not know who was like crazy enough to believe like North Korea is a great country, and then I'm the like betrayer and the betraying their like the ideology they adore.
Yes. Well, that's one end of what your book does. It shows that there's another way out there.
Yeah.
The only environment in which people live
Right.
or don't live.
Mm-hmm.
I've only photographed one person in my entire career who had security with him as I photographed him, and that was Roberto Saviano. Do
Um,
you know who he is?
I think I heard. I think my publicist like explained to me what
So
that was. Yeah.
Roberto Saviano, for those in the audience who don't know, is a writer from Italy, a journalist from Italy who covered the Camorra, which is one of the largest, most powerful mafia organizations in all of the country. And he was able to penetrate the organization, living among them, very, very discreetly, of course, without them knowing his true aim. And then he wrote about them. So there was an effort to take his life, no matter where he went in the world. And so at some point, his promotion of his book, which was called Gomorrah, was bringing him to the United States. And that's when I had the chance to photograph him. And yes, it was the two of us and 3 security guards.
Yeah, it is.
So how has your life changed now? It's been almost
Well,
5
I mean,
years since we made
yeah,
it was published.
I know. I went to school after that. I went to university in New York
Yes.
and graduated. That was a big one because almost, it was my dream when I arrived in South Korea. I was getting the education, and I was getting educated in the US was beyond my like even wildest imagination I could get.
Yes.
So it was achieving a goal that I set up when I wanted, achieve when I came to the freedom. And I fell in love with American Bastard and made a half North Korean, half American baby. It was so touching and so like, when I gave delivery to my son in the hospital, they gave us a birth certificate and it says, father is American and the mother is like North Korean. And it was just like, what is a, problematic way of, because there are only like 190 or 7 or just above 200 North Korean defectors in America.
Wow.
Only like 70, during the 75 years of oppression, only over 200 of us made to America. So very rare.
Yes.
So yeah, I feel just so grateful and, like what freedom can do, right? In North Korea, international marriage is like banned. You can never like marry foreigner. Oh, of course, not to mention American bastard. So, so that was like just proving that how dictator was so wrong and how I'm gonna win with my freedom. It was
Yeah.
really, really like just happy moment.
Oh, that's wonderful. Well, of course,
Yeah,
in this country, we are all foreigners.
yeah, exactly.
That makes this place so special. I've learned so much about your country, your part,
Mm,
your culture from having read your work, from having met and photographed you. And that's the gift we give to each other, of course.
mm-hmm.
This gift of diversity. And now that's part of your daily life for your family.
Yeah, it is like just mixture of every culture. Yeah.
Is there a story you're looking to tell now?
Well, now I'm just more really interested I'm working more in the behind the scene
Yes.
because as soon as I go public, the North Korea really, really try to like manipulate me and like silence me in so many other ways.
Yes.
So, I do my best to, still my dream is bringing down Kim Jong-un. So that is still my life goal.
Yeah.
And I do want to go home. I still don't know something because when I left North Korea, it was like I hated the country. And it was also very temporary thing too. I want to go China to find food. So it's still in my heart. My North Korea is my home and
Yeah.
I want to go home.
Yes.
And I think that's what I'm doing everything I can do to fight the regime and free my people so I can go home someday with my son.
Oh, well, beautiful that would be.
Oh yeah, that'd be really, really amazing.
I'm very fortunate to live in the country of my birth and to have had the freedoms I've had here, to love the country that has raised me and all the people it's brought into my life, and to not have that mixed emotion of loving a place that also is an oppressor.
Yeah.
I hope that dream comes true for you and for all involved.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, it is really like, sometimes just the thought of I might go to Mars before I go back to North Korea, right?
Well,
And
if you go to North Korea before you go to Mars.
I really hope so, but that's what I'm working on.
Lovely, lovely. Do you mind if we then invite our audience to say hello as
Of
well?
course.
We can have
Yeah.
hello. Okay. So welcome everybody. If you have a question for Yeonmi, you are more than welcome to raise your hand or type it in the chat, and then I'll introduce you to Yeonmi.
Do you just check the
Okay. So this young lady here.
chat? Okay. Do I get to see the question on the chat, I guess?
Well, the young lady here.
All right.
Ah.
Right. Oh.
Hi.
Who's she asking?
I'm talking to you because you're on my main screen. I'm
Are
sorry.
you talking to me?
Yeah. Good morning.
Oh, hi.
Hi.
I have a quick question. I didn't read your book yet, but I plan on reading it now for sure.
Thank you.
But you went to, I'm puzzled how you went from North Korea to China to another communist country.
Yeah.
Then you came to South Korea where you found freedom, free at life. And how was that difference? Differences.
Thank you so much for your question. So when you look at in the map in North Korea, the only border they have is China and the South Korea with the DMZ. And the border with the South Korea is the most heavily militarized zone in the world. So it's impossible to escape. So you cannot really cross the border from North Korea to South Korea. Some people, some defectors do get a boat and cross it to Japan, and some way they actually swim in the ocean to go to Japan for days and months. But really hard to escape. So most of defectors escape from China. And it's not like we want to go to China because that is the only border that we see. And we when we go to China, we don't know that actually Chinese people gonna sell us as a sexual slaves. We don't know that the Chinese regime also gonna capture us, send us back to North Korea to be killed. We just think somehow we go to China, then we might be able to get some food. Because in North Korea, we don't have internet. We don't have any press. So when we escape from North Korea, it's not like other refugees can look at what's happening, how the world look like. For us, it's like, oh my God, there's lights at night. Because in North Korea, I was seeing the electricity coming from China. And I thought, maybe where the lights are, I can find some food. And that's like how most of the defectors are escaping to China. And then they usually be sold as sexual slaves to Chinese men. And then a lot of people don't get escape from China, but my case, we walked across the Gobi Desert to Mongolia from China. And then once we arrived in Mongolia alive, they helped us to go to South Korea.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so very much. And we'll go now to Isaac.
Hello, Yeonmi Park.
Hi,
It's me,
Isaac.
Isaac Martinez. I'm a big fan of your book. I read it probably 2 years ago, and also I follow you on Instagram, so you probably see me chat.
Thank
But
you.
yes, I do have one question. It's kind of outside the book, but I noticed that there were Americans who visited North Korea for the past couple of years.
Right.
I read a book about Laura Ling, who's the sister of Lisa Ling from CNN.
Right. Yeah.
And then recently I read about the details of this man called Otto Warmbier.
Warmbier, yeah.
how do you feel about how do you feel about him being like, I know like how you did I know this, it's kind of a complicated question, but it's simply were you surprised that that Otto had died because of North Korea, or do you feel like this doesn't happen often? Because for me, I have some mixed results. Like, well, if he died from the injuries of North Korea, how come the other ones who were captured by the North Koreans didn't suffer the same? Or was it,
Right.
or was he really tortured? Or, because I really have no idea.
Yeah, thank you so much for your interest. So as you know, now the travel to North Korea banned from the US government, but in the past it was allowed. So although I met actually Otto's father and mother several times and got to know them, and I got to know like the Otto's personal story too, not only just on the TV, but it is they do get tortured. That is for sure. Although it's not the first time who got tortured. There was another American, but he was like ethnic Korean. He was born in America, but his parents were Korean. He went to Korea to spread the gospel. So he voluntarily crossed the border from China and got captured. And once he got there, North Korea tortured him so many times that he doesn't want to talk about it, how he got tortured. But he cannot, almost like cannot be man. They torture the degree where he cannot be who he is anymore. And once he got released, he tried to kill himself so many times from the shame that he experienced during his torture. So we know that Otto is not the only one who got tortured, but there are a lot of them. I mean, some of them do come out alive, but that does not mean their journey ends there. And in general, like this with tourism, I mean, for him, like the missionary case, right? They go there to have some mission to go there. But when just tourists have a goal, their goal is just going to the country and see North Korea, because that is a little bit, to me, it's like, is it worth to risk your life, right? You go to North Korea, it's not like you even actually see the real country. You go see the setup. It's like a movie setup that North Korea made for you to see and go back. So sometimes they actually get a wrong idea of North Korea. Like I met so many people saying, oh, I've been to Pyongyang, I've been to Wonsan, I've been there as a tourist. Oh, I stayed in like this nice hotel. I had like karaoke. I had like, like a barbecue. And I went to like water park, all this. What do you mean North Korean people are starving? So it is so like, it's like when I came to like America, if all I went to was like White House, that's not how most of North Koreans live, right? So it is like really sad how Otto's like life was like, how that taken away for nothing almost. It's really sad situation.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you for your question.
Thank you, Isaac. And now we're going to go to Sean.
Hi, Yeonmi. I read your
Hi, Sean.
Yeah, I read your memoir 4 years ago when I was in high school. It's a very inspiring. Yeah. So my question for you is, when North Korea and South Korea do reunify, however long that takes, do you think there going to be some sort of like challenges between the people? Because I feel like North Korea and South Korea are both very culturally different after being divided for so long. And I'm kind of imagining that there might be some setbacks when it comes to like assimilating together.
Right. It's like, I hate to be like pessimistic, but when it comes to real, like my view, I try to be really honest. It is so nice to say like, oh, there will be one, we are the same people, it's gonna be okay. But based on what I experienced in South Korea, once I escaped from North Korea, I went to South Korea, right, after China and Mongolia. And the country, as you said, became a different country. The culturally, we are very different. And even the language became very, very different. So like, for instance, in North Korea, we don't have word for stress. So there had to be an education on stress. So in North Korea, supposed to be, this is like socialist paradise. And how can you be stressed in the socialist paradise? So it's like in 1984 by George Orwell. They just eliminated the word for us. So we don't have words depression, stress, or even love. You are not supposed to love any other than like your dear leader and the regime. So people, the lovers don't say like I love you. There's no such a thing word called like my parents never told me she loved me. So like for instance, like those words, like very basic words like human rights, stress, depression doesn't exist in North Korean dictionary. And South Korea also became very took its own way, become like modernized. So as a North Korean, when I went to South Korea, I did not know what like Americana was. Like in North Korea, we don't drink coffee. We don't have coffee shops. I mean, we are starving. How do you have a luxury of like drinking tea or coffee? So their daily life is so different. But what makes me more afraid is not just these modern inventions that South Korea has, but the mindset shifting, especially among the South Korean youth. They afraid that they think they have to pay higher taxes. If the country becomes one, they have to pay some expenses for the reunification. So they don't want that. And also they have started viewing North Koreans as foreigners. So if you think North Koreans are different people, you don't have that motivation to become one again. So it is I think if they do get reunified, I think it's going to be such a painful process that it will just like going to be so painful. So I think at this point for me, I think most realistic is like letting North Korea become democratic on their own and let them become modernized on their own with their pace, not trying to make North Korea become like South Korea one day or like within like few years. Because everyone gonna be just so like, I think gonna be disappointed. Because when I was in South Korea, like I wasn't able to enter like public PC room because they say, why are you speaking like with a North Korean accent? Like, are you a spy? Why are you trying to be friends with me? And even now, till this day, or most of North Korean defectors do face discrimination by South Korean public. So that's why I think I can see because we have tried, there's an example of how North Koreans and South Koreans get along, but they actually don't get that along that way, unfortunately. Yeah, sorry for bleak, dark prediction for reunification, but my goal is really seeing my countrymen, the children in North Korea, don't die from hunger and be a free country. It doesn't really matter if it's just one country, South Korea or not. Just I want North Korea to be free. And I think once the countries are free, we can go to North Korea like, any other country. It doesn't really matter if it's a one country, South or not. Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Sean. To that end, Yeonmi, I remember reading in your memoir that when you had arrived to South Korea and then were beginning your education,
Yeah.
you had encountered prejudice from other people who were South Korean, and they spoke to you negatively, regarding you for your accent, for your heritage. But I wonder, Sean had spoken to the idea of now you're in a reunification, or Union had spoken also to the idea that South Korea would have to attend to the cost of unifying with North Korea. But South Korea has become so progressive over these generations. I wonder if it's a financial standing that it can already honor that cost. It knows that if this should come, it can handle it. And that should be something that shouldn't be an issue at all.
So it's not only the economic cost, because I think about it, South Korea has, they don't produce. They are like, people really don't have any kids anymore. They have one of the lowest birth rate among the OECD countries, like 0.8%. So, it's not like way below than like replace population rate. South Korea is, been a big crisis like Japan, all these like advanced countries in Asia. And so they do get a lot of people from Africa, from Middle East, from East Asia, so many other countries. The workers, they come, they need that labor. So once they do reunify, for South Korean perspective, it's like much better for them because they need this labor force anyway. And most of the people in the North Korea are very young, and they still like speak the common Korean. Of course, they cannot, teach them economics because the language barrier, but they can like communicate how did you eat, what to do, right? The daily life stuff. So if there is a reunification, South Korean is gonna gain as much, maybe even more. But the problem is that people's these stereotypes of North Koreans they have, it is kind maybe because maybe they grew up watching more like Hollywood movies, right? So they feel less foreign to watch Hollywood movie than like looking at North Korean movie. It's gonna be look so odd to them. And they also have this tendency of looking up to more like Western culture and like looking down culture that is less worthy. So, if you are coming from wealthy country, you're not gonna probably most likely not gonna get like prejudice. You're not gonna be discriminated. All I'm saying, if you're a white guy speaking English from one of the like major developed country, you have no problem. But if you're a country from like poor like North Korea, then that is like your economic status. So that's like so bitter about it when you discriminate. We don't choose our birthplace. We didn't choose to be born in the oppressed country. And they say, oh, because you are coming from this kind of like communist country, you must not be working hard. You must not have a good work ethic. You must be lying. You must not understand the economics here. Because all of that is like stereotypes. It's like you cannot really do anything about it. So it's not based on rational thing. They against like reunification. I think just they don't like it there. We are just so poor.
I understand. So we have in the chat now a question from Yukiko, who is listening to us from Japan, and she has a question about North Korean education. What did you learn about the outside world when you were in North Korea?
Yeah, so that's such a good question. So in North Korea, even though it's a socialist country, right? In socialist, they try to make everything equal. So government to get in charge, make a ration. No one gets more, no one gets less. We are all equal. But they went a completely opposite way. The elites in Pyongyang live like royalty, and the people in the bottom lives like peasants, like you're starving. So when the education that you get is very varied depending on your status in the society. So like Kim Jong-un instance, he went to Switzerland to study. So he got the world's best education. And the people who are in Pyongyang, who are elites, they go to study in Beijing University, in China, in Europe, in Moscow, in even London. And the people in Pyongyang, maybe not all of them go abroad, but they still get a decent education. But like me, like us, most of us in the countryside are peasants. My case, I never seen the map of the world. I never knew how the world looked like. They don't teach us. So as I said, it's like if you read Hunger Games, it is exactly like that. There are districts. There is a capital. Not everyone can go to capital. The one dream that North Koreans have in the countryside, my friends, was like their dream was visiting our Pyongyang capital in their lifetime, because traveling within North Korea is even banned. So it's not like North Korean dream of going to Europe someday or Paris. Their dream is visiting their country's like capital. So in that like Hunger Game system, right, there's a districts and we are starved on purpose. If we are full, right, we're gonna start reading books and gonna start thinking about meaning of life and do the higher thinking. But when you're on the verge of starvation, all you have to worry about is like your next meal. That's how the capital are controlling us. So in that my case, well, I can talk about my experiences like being in the countryside, being a poor status is like, all we learn is hating our enemies, which is like American bastards and also Japanese imperialists. I don't know why they hate Japan, but they do. So our enemy is like Japan and like in America and the most like democratic Western countries. and then we just learn what kind of miracles our dear leader can make. And we do like learn basic math, but even in math program they say, you know, there are 4 American bastards, you kill 2 of them, there how many like Americans left to kill. And like as like few years old you say, oh, 2 American bastards, like that is one word you say, one like American bastard. So everything is a propaganda, and they don't give us like access to any information, so you believe what you see because you don't know, like they don't teach us how to think, they don't teach us what critical thinking is. I got so confused when I came to the West. They say like, you know, the purpose of education is like teaching you how to think critically, but in North Korea that concept doesn't exist. So when I was in North Korea, I believed that my dear little Kim Jong-il was starving. And then when I came to South Korea, someone said to me, like, how did you believe that? Look at him. He's the fattest guy in the picture. And like, how do you think he was starving? And like, because back in North Korea, I didn't learn how to think critically. I couldn't make that out just seeing the picture. So that is why education is so important that we have here, like teach us how to think. But in North Korea, it's the opposite. They like make us to be numb and not to think at all.
Well, of course, you spoke of starvation, and being denied a proper education is a form of starvation, of course.
Yeah, it is. It is killing of like your humanity, your own potential is completely being killed through that education. I mean, through the brainwashing. It's not even education. It's like, you know, they teach us, like make us fear and make us believe that our dear leaders are gods. Like, you know, Bible. It's like almost like a bad Bible study, I can say. It's like the people in the court. It's like North Korea. When people try to understand North Korea as a country, they get wrong because it's not a country. It's like one of the 10 religious court in the world. It's like you know, when you're a god, you don't need to make a sense. You don't need a logic. You can say I'm a god. You will never understand my higher thinking way as a human. So that works in North Korea. They say I'm a god. I don't need to explain to you. You know, you will never get my logic as a just mere human being. And that's how they able to like brainwash us, just being a god to us.
Let's see. Yes. We have another question for you from the chat, which is from Sarah. And Sarah writes, I would like to understand, how does Kim not feel ridiculous before the world? He has seen the real world. He knows he's no God, differently from the North Korean people. How do you think he thinks about this subject?
So how the upbringing of him is not like us. He didn't grow up like us with our friends and socializing with normal people. When he was born, other people, like 60, 70 years old people bowing to him, calling him dear general, and treat him like he was a god. Since his birth, no one could talk to him like friends. So he never been like treated like a friend by anyone. But of course, when he went to school in Switzerland, he had a classmate, right? He did have a friend, like 1 or 2 friends. So, but the thing is that that is what power does that to people, I think. Imagine like as a king in the 18th century, our life is better than the king's life, right? We have a smartphone in our hand. Kings in the back then didn't have that, but now imagine being a king, like the almighty king in this 21st century. What can you not have? Like Kim Jong-un has 2,000 ladies like pleasure squad for him. He has a palace and any lust you can have, any wildest imagination you want, it's possible in this age. And his father had, I mean, many wives, many pleasure like squad for him. And this power allows you to be anything that you want. So I think that's why it's not like, and also that as we mentioned about the right education, like here when we are in this modern country, we learn about compassion, we learn about, you know, being belonging and understanding others, make a sacrifice. But he got educated in a way that he only has to live for his own kingdom himself. and that's how he brought up to his, and the other people supporting him in the elites do support him to be that way, because there's a Kim Jong-un there, these top elites in North Korea, they become the royalty. These people, it's not like they don't know anything. They know too well that if they go to South Korea or they come to America, they're gonna be equal with everybody. Right? Like if you see those pictures like Obama like does a high five with somebody cleaning. When I saw that, I was shocked. In North Korea, if you meet your leader, they say you have seen the sun, so they take care of you for the rest of your life. That's like how special you become, just seeing the side of him. That is like the honor you get. And here, like you can just high five with the president and nothing changes in your life, right? So that's like that, like complete absolute like worship. I don't know. I think I mean, it's not like I think any normal person can be messed up with that situation, I think. But what gets him is that Kim Jong-un have seen in Switzerland how people should be treated. He got the education and how still he does this. That's when I think he's gotta be a monster. Otherwise, how is that possible? But I think with his father, I understand a bit more because he did not see abroad. But with the Kim Jong-un, it's a little bit different. So I think maybe he's a psychopath. Otherwise, how can he kill his brother like that? How can he like put his uncle like that in a fire squad and make him into dust? Like the uncle that helped him to that till that way, that he just like would kill anyone for power.
Thank you. And we have Margita who wishes to say something.
Hi, Yeonmi.
Hi.
How are you?
I'm great.
It's absolutely incredible to meet you visually, virtually, because it was almost 5 years ago
oh my God,
that I met you, in quotes, by reading your book in German. You spoke about the 30 languages.
Wow.
I was born and raised in Hamburg, Germany.
Yeah.
And I decided to learn several languages. When you learn another language, you also learn other cultures.
Right. Yeah.
And to read your book was
Oh, you got English too.
No. This is the
German
German book.
I see. Wow.
And it was for Christmas 2015 that my son gave it to me.
Oh.
You see his signature,
yes,
Beowulf?
Yes. Oh my gosh!
Yes. He gave it to me
that's
almost
so
5 years ago.
Wow.
So then I read your book and I was absolutely in awe of what you went through. The strength that you must have inside to cope with what you went through. And it's just so touching to see you so beautiful and so happy now in this culture. And I want to wish you many, many happy years in the United States.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Wow.
Thank you so much for sharing your personal. Maybe Beowulf, you can come up with a great word. All the tortures, all the sacrifices you made to become the person you are now. I'm sure there's so many people who can learn a lot from you.
No, I learned so many. I mean, I met people like you, all of you. I think I got so lucky. It's nothing I did anything differently or I fought harder or anything. There are so many people who fought harder even and who went through worse, didn't make it. As I said, there's only over 200 of us here. And
exactly.
There are right now 300,000 North Korean defectors are in China being a sexual slave to this day right now. So it is, I got so unbelievably lucky that's why I don't have any or like that's why in my book I said there are two things I'm very grateful for. One is that I was born in North Korea, and two is I escaped. And if I didn't born in North Korea, well, I would think, freedom was given. This whole thing that I have was something given to me that I did not know that how lucky I am to be free. So I'm very grateful that I went through that experience, and I'm also very grateful I survived.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
We're grateful that you shared so much of your personality with us.
Oh, thank you so
Thank you.
much. Oh, that's so
Thank you,
thank you.
Brigitte.
That's so touching. Oh.
Thank you, Vaughn.
You're welcome.
Yeah.
Great to see you. Oh my goodness. So
Oh.
we have a question. We have two questions still for you. The next is from, where are you? Is this you, I hope? Yes. Hi. Please.
Who's it?
Yes.
Hi.
Hello. Oh, can I talk to you now?
Yes, I can hear you very
Alright.
well.
Hello.
Hi.
Hello, my name is Ai from Japan.
Yay.
Yeah, and I've been watching your speech on YouTube, and I'm really honored to talk with you today.
Oh, thank you.
So much. And I have a question
Hmm.
of like, is there any possibility to escape from North Korea, especially when the people are working in Russia? Because I heard some North Korean people, especially men, are forced to work in Russia, like
Yeah.
borders between Russia and China
Yeah.
for forest industries.
Yeah.
And I heard it's gonna be like several years, like over 5 years.
Yeah.
So I wondered, oh, if there are so many times to spend in abroad, is there any chance to escape or just run away from there?
Yeah, thank you so much for your question. So North Korea, the regime itself does human trafficking. That's also they need to make money. They sell drugs.
Mm-hmm.
They cultivate like a lot of drugs in the country, and then they sell that. And second, they sell a lot of weapons. They sell a lot of missiles to Middle East, other countries. And third, like hacking, and the fourth, like human trafficking. So there are North Korean restaurants, so many of them in China and in Europe, and like a lot of North Korean restaurants, and they send North Korean young girls who look really pretty and go there, and they don't get paid. They get paid like entire year they work like a slave. They get like $200 or something. So they can. So another thing is like when you see all this like in Africa, there are a lot of dictators in Africa, and North Korea send a lot of workers to build a statue for the dictators. North Korea is very good at building statues because all we got is statues of Kim Jong Un and Kim Jong Il, right? So a lot of dictators, they want to like build a statue, they hire North Korean workers to do it. It's just so corrupt how these bad guys getting along. But not only like countries are bad, like Poland, even they have so many North Korean workers. Like you said, Russia in Siberia, Vladivostok, there are so many of them in China. These workers they work in the like construction zone. They cannot go out. So they have to kind of recreate North Korea once they leave the country. They go, they put the banners, they do self-criticism. They work like 18 hours a day. They don't have proper gears to be safe or none of that. They cannot leave their construct. They are like slaves, even when they leave North Korea to work abroad. And yeah, their working conditions like unbelievable, but still so many European countries and like other countries accept them because they work so hard and they're a lot cheaper.
Gotcha.
And these workers, some of them do escape. It's hard to forget, but they do get to escape. But then when you escape, if you as a man, right, like you say, you have to be a man, and they have to be married, and they have to have a child. Your wife and your child is a hostage to the regime. So if you escape, then you endanger your family.
I see.
So they don't make them escape because of family. So even as a diplomat, when you are a diplomat, when you go abroad, you have to keep your child in North Korea as a hostage, so you don't run away. So it's like, except the Kim Jong Un and few people on the top, everybody's a prisoner. Like when people say like, oh, there's a concentration camp in North Korea, like no, the entire country is a concentration camp. Like no one can leave that country, no one can go in. That those workers are really just heartbreaking, because there are so many countries are taking advantage of this like free labor from North Korea, and they just don't have any rights and any dignity, and they just work. But the thing is, as a North Korean, going abroad like a slave is a lifetime honor, because at least when you go work like a slave, you can get fed. But in North Korea, no matter what you do, you still don't get fed. And according to the UN right now, there are up to like 22 to 24 million people, and 10 millions of them are like the last degree of malnutrition. So most of starvation is like extremely starving. And if you are above 138 centimeter, what is that even feel like 4'2", right? 4 feet 2. Like in Asia we do centimeters, right? Like I'm 5'2", I'm very tiny. But North Korean men who like come here, you saw me, right? I'm so tiny, but they like one head smaller than me. They still need to go to military service to serve. And that's how people are so small in North Korea, because of lack of food.
I see.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you so much
Thank
for
you so much
answering.
for joining me from Japan. It must be so late there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Ai. So we have two last questions. And the next is from Darlie, who writes, hello, Yeonmi. What was the most surprising concept or emotion you learned after escaping North Korea? And how has that changed for you over time?
I mean, the concept that I learn and still I find amazing and still sometimes understand is love. It's like when you survive something so hard, like you keep questioning, why did I make it, right? And I still do the same thing, like what's the meaning of my life, right? What do I need to pursue a career? Do I need to pursue something? And ultimately we live for love. It is that, I think that is our mission on earth, that to love. And it is the greatest thing I've ever found. I remember when I met people, they told me like, oh, I love you, I really like care about what you went through. And I was like, how can you possibly love me? Right? I have nothing to offer you. Like there's nothing you gain from loving me. And because I never experienced in my life the unconditional love, like you can actually love another human being unconditionally. I just never felt that in me all this time, because in North Korea, like right now, like there's a three of us, you have to spy on me and I have to spy on somebody else. So you spy somebody and you are being spied. So even if I'm a great person, I'm not gonna spy on my friend that I know I'm being spied. But the person who spies on me, that person also knows that he's spied. So he needs, so how North Korea created this country is making you cannot trust anyone. You cannot even trust your own back. Like the one thing my mom told me as a young girl, the first thing she told me was not to even whisper, because the birds and mice could hear me. You don't even trust the mice or the birds anymore. Like you trust nothing. That is the only way you can stay survive in that country. If you slip a wrong word, that word can get you killed like 3 generations of your family. But here, like I couldn't understand, like every movie was about love, like every song here is about love. Like I was like, these people are obsessed with love here. Like what is thing is love? And once I became a mother, I understand what that love is. It is the greatest thing in the world. So it is so wonderful that we can love here no matter what. And it is the best feeling that you can ever experience. And I'm so grateful I can love here. Like, you know, how much I love is it's not, it's a, love is free. You can just love as much as you want.
What a great answer. That's very moving. We have just one last one. This is from Kristen Milner, who asks, you have adjusted so well to Western life. Were there times you struggled to wrap, and no, sorry, that just moved. There's times you struggled to wrap your head around the realities of life outside of North Korea?
Can you rephrase that question for me? Because I want to really understand.
The question again is, were there times you struggled to wrap your head around the realities of life outside of North Korea? In other words, did you have challenges just to accept the surprise, the difference of what society life is like outside of North Korea?
Yeah, I mean, I mean, I came to America in end of 2014, so it's been 5 years here and 5 years in South Korea. But you know, in my dreams, I still dream about being in North Korea and try to run away, try to find food. And that is the one thing that we share with the other North Korean defectors. In our dreams, we are still North Korea. We are not in this safety. And we try to run away from those Chinese police too. And, you know, it is true, like, even when I met you and I was writing that thing, I remember my editors, my agent was telling me, like, Yeonmi, you are traumatized. You need to go see therapist. I was like, what is therapist? And she said, here in this world, people have problems. We can't get fixed for anything. And I was like, how much is it? And it was like over $100 per hour. And she was like, it is actually a discount for you. And I was like, what? You need therapy living in Manhattan? And people talking to me like the problem that we have here is actually eating too much. Like obese is killing us more. And, you know, I was like going out dinners and I seeing my girlfriends, they are like handbag is like sometimes like up to $1,000, right? And I was sold for like over $200 in China in 2007, and my mom was sold for like $65. That was my price. And it is a challenge sometimes to make a sense out of this something. It just doesn't match, right? I'm in the same planet. Like sometimes I have to keep reminding myself, am I in the same planet? Because in the same planet, in the same time, in the contemporary same 21st century, one day I was being bought for like less than $300, and someday my dinner price comes out like the same amount. And like, why people have to suffer so much, right? Why anyone have to die from not eating food? It just doesn't make any sense to me. Like, because our Mother Earth have more than enough to feed us and take care of us if we know how to share and take care of each other. And but I used to be resentful, like why people do this. But the thing is, people did not know. Most of people did not know what was happening to my people. And that is why I'm doing this work, letting the people know, because I do think humanity is inherently great. We are inherently loving creatures. We just did not know and did not learn that. And that's why I believe that we have hope.
What an absolutely beautiful, moving way to end. I should add that Kristen wanted me to let you know that her book club had read your book, and she's, of course, very moved to have read it, very grateful for the chance to have read it. And of course, we're all very grateful to you for today. I wanted to share one little last passage from your book, given what you just said about love and about giving. And now that you're a mother, I think it's appropriate to share. You had that you had been reading the biographies of American civil rights heroes like Martin Luther King Jr. and Rosa Parks, and others who had sacrificed their safety and even their lives so that others could be free. I was drawn to their stories and by the notion that living a meaningful life requires embracing something bigger than yourself. My mother knew this already. She had always told me that to be happy, you must give to others no matter how poor you are. And she thought that if she had something to give, it would mean that her own life would have some value. You've given us so much, and it's all priceless. Thank you oh so much, Yeonmi. Thank you to all of you for coming today.
Yes, thank you
You can
so
help
much.
writers in dire need by buying Yeonmi's books and other great writers' books in portrait prints at beowulfsheen.com/an-author-a-day or by donating directly to the authorsleaguefund.org/donate. Look for today's talk soon on the Author a Day Live channel on YouTube. Be safe, be healthy, be inspired, and we'll see you here again soon. Thank you.
Thank you so much, everyone, for joining me today. Bye-bye. Have a wonderful day, everybody. Bye. Bye. It's so wonderful to see you all. It's wonderful. Bye-bye. Yeah.